Well, thank you all for having me, and thanks for the chat already. This is already going to be a fun discussion. I am Dr. Lisa Wood, and today we're going to talk about the horror of hair. So I'm a lot of things at one time, and I don't pick and choose between them. I just literally just embody all of this at once. I'm a dark fiction author with novels in the psychological horror, science fiction, mystery, and dark romance genres. Um, I have almost always called myself a psychological horror author. I'm trying on dark fiction. It's not really sitting well. I think I'm just going to continue with psychological horror because that's the truth of it. Anything I write pretty much has psychological horror infused. So I think I'm going to stick there. I've written over 250 stories, short stories, 3 novellas, the occasional poem. I'm a screenwriter with 5 feature length and 6 short films, or screenplays at least, out in the world, 1 completed film. And I do a lot in the festival circuit with that work. I also love to study about horror fiction. So I'm a PhD in creative writing, MFA in creative writing, MA in English and creative writing. You see the theme here, and a BA in communications with a focus on film production. I kind of went full circle. I stick with the focus of that creative writing aspect of everything for me. And finally, I'm an English professor. I create courses, I've written textbooks, I'm an essayist, a public speaker, and a convention track director. This convention would be Multiverse. Um, a lot of fun. It gives me all of that means that I get the chance to think about, write, and talk about horror fiction all the time. And it's the place that I'm most comfortable, interacting. So it's good for me. All right, so let's talk about hair. Hair, ornament, source of power, source of beauty. Whether a decoration or burden, hair is at the forefront of many cultures and has been a part of the body consciousness of women since the dawn of time. Some cultures consider it a most prized possession, one that should be donated to the gods in thanks for favor. Others consider it a defining characteristic, one that speaks of a person's background, upbringing, and worth. While some have had the freedom to work with it, styling, cutting, coloring, as they feel so inclined, using it as a form of self-expression in as much as their clothing is, others are held to rigid standards regarding hair and its maintenance. This curious inequality surrounding hair plays out in the media, in business, in communities, and even in households. Bias colors perceptions and creates an other that is based upon an irreversible fact of nature, the way that hair grows from one's head. That separation, based entirely on nature, is a real construct that can be seen time and time again in world marketing and media. And now, the horror genre has given it a distinction that fits in more ways than one. Hair as sacrifice, hair as camouflage, hair as antagonist. The body horror subgenre deals with the terrors of the body. Often this imagery is shown in the form of mutation and deformation, and usually leans toward the extreme, as I'm sure your memory of late night B movies can attest. But there is a truth that the physical brings to the subgenre that cannot be ignored, something that makes the audience cringe and move away while their eyes remain trained on the screen. The thing that's pulsating, the thing that's morphing, the thing that is ripping through sinews and muscle fibers, pressing, cutting, tearing at smooth skin from within to get at the outside air. It's here where the concept of hair and what it means to women and men alike can be investigated, put on display, and challenged. Who knew? Hair adorning, as you see here, and their respective histories can be found in many cultures, as can the perception and rules surrounding what is deemed proper. Consider many Asian cultures favor straight, neat hair, that Muslim women are expected to cover their hair to show modesty, that African American women wearing natural hairstyles to work is still a topic of discussion. Now let's think about the Japanese Onryo, whose long unkempt hair hangs loose in front of her face, a stringy web of dark strands until her ghostly countenance is revealed. Think about the meaning here, the truth that is perpetuated in this visual. The Onryo is a ghost out for revenge. But for what? Made popular in mainstream cinema by heart-stilling characters like Sadako from The Ring or Kayako from Ju-On, the hair that covered their faces became as frightening as their crawling approach and the sounds that spilled from their ruined throats. But only a cursory address was given to why these souls remained in a state of unrest. These women were feared even though their backstory spoke of abuse, torment, and murder. These images, the ones where something terrifying lives behind dirty strands, they are the ones that stick with us, not the plight that set her appearance in motion. The tradition of terrifying hair is continued with Xday, hair extensions, the image on the left, which has the stolen hair of murdered women act as a homing beacon, calling the ghost who is in search of its retrieval. It's chilling, by the way. And then the later release, Exute, which is on the right, which explores the idea of hair as parasite, the hair growing wild inside a human husk, the body of a slain woman. In these examples can be seen the patriarchal importance of hair by making much of the horror of the converse. But what about when the hair is coveted? The movie Bad Hair taps into the importance that the African American community places on hair, whether we want to or not. It puts on display the undercurrent of bias and judgment that exists in the African American community around hair, how one presents themselves, and how that equates to status or worth in ways that have only been hinted at heretofore. It also brings to light the still relevant notion that straight hair is more palatable in the workplace and in one's personal life as well, because the hair makes the wearer look like a different person. This movie dives into the coveting of the hair and what it brings, to include respectability, a possible love interest, and maybe even a higher standing at work. But all of this comes at a price. Pitting the natural hair community against the processed one, viewers are not only introduced to conflicts that they may never have known existed, but also meet a horror rooted in spirits and forsaken promises kept in the hair to be perpetuated when worn again. In an incredibly poignant moment that has so many layers, just filled with symbolism and meaning that can't fully be uncovered in one viewing, the hair animates, sinking itself into a gaping wound to drink the blood found there. It's an incredible scene. The hair, the desired silky tresses, it is the antagonist, the wearer, an unwitting host turned puppet. It's a really interesting movie. Movies outside of the horror genre have reflected the desire to change one's appearance that some women and girls have expressed using hair as the vehicle. Yolanda Mogatusi's short film, Hair That Moves, follows a young girl as she prepares for a singing contest, trying several hair products to straighten her natural curls and make her hair more pliable. Flat irons, and rod sets, chemical straighteners that can eat through metal. All of these methods are used on the hair of women from the African diaspora routinely as they search for one product, process, savior that will provide them with straight hair. Others, oh, here's that process I mentioned earlier on in the last slide of the chemical that's pulled through the hair that can eat through metal, and it definitely smells like it can as well. Uh, Others sew in, as you see demonstrated here, sew in, glue in, braid in hair from places unknown without a care for where the strands might have come in, come from in search of that desired look, regardless of what secrets the hair might hold. Hair willingly sacrificed as part of the Hindu tonsure? Who knows? Taken from captives in a hair farm? Unsure. The hows and whys of the hair coming to be are less important than its luster and the state of its ends. The descriptors of how hair is treated during the quest for straightness, the burning of the scalp during the chemical processing, the stripping of the hair follicle, the pulling of the strands into a tight coil upon which someone else's hair is added, treated with a needle and thread and sewn together. Speak of body horror in its finest. Like that, if nothing else you've heard today illustrate that hair can be used in body horror, that alone should make the case. This is a transformation into the grotesquely beautiful and then being put on display. And it is beautiful for a time until the consequences to the soul are tallied. Hair as fear needs little analysis once the above truths are recognized. As in the cases of the Japanese onryo and the Malaysian ghost women, whose hair hide their visages, countenances so terrifying that they induce death upon viewing them. And the Southeast Asian Picha Peri, who with her backward feet takes time to peek out from behind those long tresses to eat the livers of children. Women's treatment and decisions about the hair incites fear in those who witness, those who stare. The desire to be seen as beautiful, just like other people whose hair is naturally long, straight, and therefore worthy, is punctuated by the fact that they are not like those women, that they can never be, that they are different, in effect, other. They then become angry, something that society thinks should be feared, much like Medusa's plight. Her tresses made monstrous in the form of snakes because of a perceived betrayal. The woman herself becomes secondary to her horror. Hair that turns into snakes. Hair that grows from the host's eyes. Hair that creates a portal within which a demon can materialize to claim another victim. Hair. Bewitching, mesmerizing, captivating to all who lay eyes on it. Beautiful, but don't touch. It has teeth. Thank you very much for listening. I can't wait to get into our discussion once I can stop sharing the screen.